As promised, we are delivering, and we're going to be delving into very salient issues, germane issues this morning. And I have the pleasure of bringing you Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He is a technical advisor to the Vice President of the land, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He works in his office. He joins us for a conversation. And of course, he is also the MP-elect for Walewale. He joins the conversation shortly. We'll also be joined by the South Dayi legislator, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations are in order.
Thank you very much.
You've had to work for this.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's been a long road, right?
Yeah.
Because after the parliamentary primary, it was contested by the main contender you went with, Haji Larba. And it was a long, winding route. When was the court case concluded? September?
Yeah, I think the court had the judgment on the 2nd of September.
2nd of September.
So, and the court ordered a rerun of the elections. So, and the rerun was done on the 9th of September, thereabout.
Okay.
So, and then the rerun also ended inconclusive because sorting was done and someone had to snatch the ballot away.
Yeah.
So it was left with the neck to look at the facts of the case and then make a determination. And at the end of the day, next settle.
They determined it.
Yeah, determined I should be the candidate. And then basically from September to December, 2 months was what basically we had to pursue the election. So you could understand why I was missing in action. Because it was an intensive, vigorous campaign. We needed him back, mindful of the fact that that is a constituency of the vice president. And going into the elections, the vice president must first and foremost secure his backyard, if for anything at all. Imagine if we had lost this election and Walewale was also gone. It would have been a huge blow, not just to me, but to the flag bearer and leader of the New Patriotic Party. So it's been a difficult year, from January all the way to December. It hasn't been an easy, but I do understand sometimes that that's the nature of this undertaking. And once we sign up or subscribe to such an adventure, you would expect the hurdles, you would expect the roadblocks, you would expect the challenges, and your ability to scale over them would make you, a good leader. So basically, our journey was not easy, but thanks to the good people of Walewale, first and foremost, I want to thank the Vice President sincerely because he provided leadership that brought finality to the matter, even though it was done under a very difficult situation. But the leadership, the clarity of that leadership was what gave us the victory. I also want to thank the people of Walewale for standing firmly and solidly behind me, and especially the women and youth of Walewale. They did so well in that regard. And also the Bawumia family. They came in their numbers trying to help us save the seat. And all the brothers of the vice president were in town to support, to make sure that we are able to secure the seat. So basically, thanks goes to Almighty God, but the people of Walewale need to be singled out for commendation because they did so well for this great success.
And you talk about saving the seat. It was not an easy election for, not just your party, but for you as an individual. You won the polls, but it was not an easy battle at all. You got some 36,700 votes, and your closest contender, Abubakar Abdallah of the NDC, polled 31,401. You're looking at a difference of about 5,299 votes. It's a lot, but it was also close, and you had to fight for it, tooth and nail for it. How difficult or how uphill a task was it for you?
Yeah, it was a very difficult battle because Abdallah Abubakar has been running the constituency, contesting for the 5th time.
5th time?
Yeah.
So he's a known face?
He's a known face. He was on the ticket of the PNC and then was grafted into the NDC, was made the regional minister. Immediately he was grafted to contest the seat. He contested, and this is his 3rd time on the ticket of the NDC. So coming against such a face who is well known across the constituency, and actually this was actually my first attempt to in battling this particular out. It was really a very difficult situation, but because I enjoyed the support of the grassroots. I enjoy the support of the majority of the people of Walewale. I enjoy general goodwill, and especially so being the fact that the vice president was also there. The presence of the vice president also in the constituency gave me an edge. And I think that there's a campaign run by the youth, by the market women, by various volunteer groups, made the task a bit easier. But one would expect that, I mean, such an election was supposed to be a do-or-die affair, because Mr. Abubakar Abdallah was supposed to be given that chance. That was basically more or less his last chance. I mean, he may decide to come, but if I have made an attempt at the seat 3 times and I'm not able to make it, it means that people will begin to raise questions about my ability to, if you like, win the seat for the NDC. So he was giving all out, and he had a lot of resources and support from different quarters. They did a lot of fundraising. So all that put a lot of pressure on me to deliver. And most importantly, you have only 2 months within which to campaign. And that was something that also put me in a very tight corner to secure the victory. And if you look at the general trend of elections across, in the Northeast region, we had 4 seats, now reduced to 2. And all that put together, and if you like, the people development of the apathy towards...
Did you say you had 4 seats in the Northeast?
Yes.
I thought it was 3 apiece.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, now it's 3 apiece. So that whole, environment put you in a very difficult situation, and we need to work day and night. We need to use every single minute to reach out to the people. A lot of door-to-door engagement, a lot of engagement all the way to midnight, to 2 o'clock a.m., 3 o'clock a.m. in the morning. We needed to do that to secure the seat. So it was a very difficult battle. But what pleases me is that we have won against the NDC in a margin that has never been experienced by any new patriotic
And I was just about to get to that, because if you look at the 2020 polls, when Hadia Larba was the candidate, she won, but it was 32,294 votes to Abdallah Abubakar, and he is the contender. He's been there, done that. He polled 30,615. If you look at this difference, it was actually less than just about 2,000 votes. But now you've increased it to about 5,000 on the back of the contest of the parliamentary primary, on the back of disgruntled Hadia Larba supporters, and on the back of the 5th term contender in the person of Abdallah Abubakar. So you did face hurdles, a lot of them.
Yeah, and that's why this achievement is no mean an achievement, because, considering the situation we found ourselves, and we increasing the margin and winning by a gap no NPP candidate or a new patriotic party candidate has ever won with such a margin, I feel like it's a huge achievement. And it is something that was achieved by the dent of hard work we put into the whole exercise, the support the vice president brought on board, the support of the youth and women of Walewale, the elders and the constituency executive, everyone coming together made this success a reality. And for me, I am content that despite the general laws, despite the loss in the presidential or the loss out in all this, the national picture, I feel happy that at least the vice president and the people of Walewale have demonstrated that when it comes to Walewale, when it comes to local policy, when it comes to the backyard of the vice president, they still love him. And I mean, this win is there's no better communication to the effect that the people love the vice president than this result they have shown in the Northeast region and in the Walewale constituency, to be precise. Because in the presidential, we won by a whopping 16,000 votes difference. And if you look at the presidential result, it shows clearly that the vice president is loved by the people of Northeast region. He's loved by the people of Walewale. The parliamentary candidate, that is my good self, is loved by the people. And but for that love, we would have also achieved this significant gap in terms of the margins of win between myself and the NDC's parliamentary candidate. And my sense is that if we keep together with the people, if we keep on reaching out, if you stay low with them, in the next elections, we may be making more gains, even though our party is not in government now. But the people will appreciate if we are able to relate well with them, and we want to secure the seat for the New Patriotic Party, we want to secure the seat for the flag bearer and leader of the New Patriotic Party, the flag bearer in the 2024 election, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
And of course, if you look at the polls there in 2024, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia secured some 41,273 votes, accounting for 61.92%. And John Dramani Mahama in Walewale, 24,673, accounting for 37.01%. But some would say, I mean, it was to be expected. This was the home base of the vice president. Of course, when you go to the Savannah region, that was also a whitewash for John Dramani Mahama. But congratulations once more. However, we've had discussions in the past, Dr. Kabiru Mahama, in our other studio, and we're talking about the issues affecting the ordinary Ghanaian man, woman, child. And sometimes it was downplayed a bit. Oh, it's not as bad, it's not as bad. Did you see this gargantuan loss coming? In the Fourth Republic, apart from maybe 92, where it wasn't even a contest in Parliament, we've never seen this kind of, parliamentary monopoly, if you like, and this sort of gap. How do you reflect on this, especially as someone working in the office of the vice president?
Well, so, put it bluntly, none of us expected a loss, and a loss by such a gap.
None of you?
None of us.
Nana Komia says, as of February, your party, through your internal research, you knew you were going to lose, that John Dramani Mahama was going to win. Yeah,
research, polls upon polls suggested that the election was a close contest, and that if we put some work to it, we could overturn. And we wanted to focus on the parliamentary majority because that will give us an edge, that in the event of a rerun, we'll have an edge. So even though the numbers...
And you speak of an edge because Ghanaians tend to, we saw it with Atamils Kufuor, that if they see that one party has
parliamentary majority,
and we saw it with Atamils Nana Akufo-Addo as well, then they want to vote for that person because they feel he will be able to do the work, else his party will prevent the other side from working.
So this was what we are fixated on, and that we knew that, I mean, generally to break the 8 is it's a Herculean task. It's not so much of an easy task to accomplish. But mindful of that, we were doing everything within our possible best. And if you saw the campaign of the vice president, he visited every single constituency. Unlike the presidential candidate of the NDC, he was in every program. He related well with grassroots people. But despite that, if you look at the numbers, you can clearly state that the people did not vote for the NDC.
So the lesson there probably is that it's not visiting every constituency that will win you the election.
No, that's the lesson.
It's touted a lot by,
it's
members
not.
of the NPP that he went to every, let's face it, John Dramani Mahama also went to most of the constituencies, over 250 or so, not up to 276. But I have heard it time and again, so I had to, pin it in there. Going to all constituencies doesn't guarantee you the win. But you say it wasn't the NDC's win.
No, it wasn't the NDC's win. It was the NPP giving out the mandate to the NDC.
Really?
Because if you look at the numbers...
You gave this out freely?
You gave it out because our members did not
you give it out freely?
No, we can't say freely because the people who did not turn out to vote probably had their resentment. The people who failed to come out to vote had their issues. But in all sincerity, they did not feel like the alternative is the NDC.
Really?
That's why they didn't come out to vote.
Are you telling me that some people didn't maybe vote for the NPP in 2016 and maybe 2020 and switched to the NDC this time?
There were some people who voted for the NPP and switched to the NDC. There were some people who voted for the NDC and switched to the NPP.
Right.
That is given. That will happen anyway.
Right.
But I'm saying if you look at the numbers, if you sum the numbers, look at the sum total of everything, you realize that the NDC numbers didn't change significantly. Just about 100,000 votes added to their previous number.
Right.
And the NPP has lost almost 2 million votes.
Right.
So it clearly tells you that these 2 million people did not turn up to vote. They feel that they were disinterested in this current election. They did not find the NPP as a good alternative. Neither did they find the NDC as a good alternative. I better sit in my home. I will not waste my time going to queue at a polling station and vote for an NDC.
Okay, hold for me right there. I dispute that kind of analysis for this reason. And indeed, there are some people who vote NPP, who probably vote NPP all the time, that I know.
Yeah.
And they've told me that, listen, I felt the NPP had disappointed me, so I wouldn't vote.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to vote for the NDC.
Yeah.
There are people in that category. I agree with you. But to do the simple and maybe simplistic mathematics and say, in the last election, we polled 6+ million. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, also polled 6+ million. In this past election, he only added a little over 100,000. And we gave him a gap of about 500,000. So if our votes have fallen to 4-point-something million, then it means we lost 2 million votes, and the NDC's voters showed up and voted, and that's why we lost. Is that not a bit too simplistic? Because, mind you, the number of voters increased, and then we shot up to over 18+ million. You look at the voter turnout, and you cannot also skew it and say that, oh, the turnout only affected one side and did not affect the other side. Someone could also surmise on the same data that if more people are turned out to vote, maybe it would have been an even wider gap. Or that maybe the NPP could have got more votes. I mean, the permutations are there. But this analysis, I've heard people talk about, oh, we lost about 40% of our vote on the back of this. It is not, you are a research person, it is not exactly mathematical.
Yeah, you see, we knew, and that's why we started our campaign with what we call the Good TV. Good TV was basically meaning that get out the votes. We were clear in our mind that if we were going to lose this election, it's going to be lost on low turnout.
So voter apathy.
Yeah, voter apathy. We knew from where to go. So we instituted a mechanism that was supposed to ensure that we get out the votes. All right? So it isn't that the NPP was doing this based on, chances. We're clear from the research, we're clear that if we are going to lose this election, it was going to be lost on voter apathy. And that the more you get your people out to vote, the more your chances of winning. So it was clear. Now, if we added some...
But voter apathy is also normal after a second term.
Yeah, if you look at the trend...
Affecting both sides, but especially the incumbent.
Yes, if you look at the trend, it shows clearly. And that's the reason why we wanted to get the votes out, because voter apathy affects the incumbent government than the opposition government. So those people were added to the album. One would have assumed that, okay, normally, they will be evenly distributed if you want to be fair with the analysis. NPP, if there were 2 million people, NPP would have taken 1 million, and NDC would have taken 1 million, all other things being equal, right? But that number didn't also turn up. Okay, that number never turning up means that they were disappointed in the NPP and they didn't find faith in the NDC. If someone was convinced that the NDC is the solution to our development challenge, NDC is the solution to our economic challenges, NDC is the solution to our jobless situation, the people would have come out to vote for the NDC. But the fact that those new people who were put on the register did not come out to vote, and it was not based on the fact that those people were finding difficulty in transportation, say, from people in Accra who wants to travel to Kumasi to vote, from people in Accra, Tamale who wants to come to Accra to vote. Despite those challenges, those people actually would have voted for the NPP if they had found out that the NPP was doing well to their liking. So that is the point we want. And one cannot take away the fact that if I did not increase my voter turnout and the anger with which the NDC was pursuing this election, they were hungry for power. Okay, every single.
And you were not.
No,
you were equally hungry.
I think that
maybe you were hungrier for power.
I think that the member
than the NDC.
No. The leadership of the NPP was hungry for power, but the grassroots of the NPP wasn't. Because if every single member of the New Patriotic Party had been that thirsty, has been that hungry, I'm sure all of us would have come and would have done whatever it is possible. I'm not belittling the fact that we implemented policies that were not to their likings. Some of them got affected by some of our policies, and you cannot be supporting a government whose policies are hurting me. Okay, so all that put together, they have very good reasons why they were not coming to vote. And we just want to apologize to the base that, look, the New Patriotic Party has disappointed them, and this particular victory by the NDC was so massive that we couldn't have done anything about it. But this is not also the first time. In the 2016 victory was also emphatic, right? And that was the first time since 1992 that a party had secured such a victory. So NDC also coming back with a more bigger one, a more emphatic victory. One would just by commend them for giving us such a huge victory and say that they did their work so well, they campaigned so well, and they reached out to their members so well, and at the end it paid off. Our old hope and consolation is that 2028 is not far, we would be coming back in 2028. And when we come back, some of the mistakes we made, we correct them. Some of the challenges we face. And I'm sure that the NDC is going to be put to the same test. The promises they made to the good people of Ghana, the assurance they gave them, the hope they made the Ghanaian people place on them. And when we put all this together, in 4 years is not far, we will be able to determine whether they have lived up to expectation or not. And if they did live up to expectation, the polls again will determine that. If they did not, or they haven't lived up to expectation, at the polls, the Ghanaian people will also determine same. So we can only say congratulations to the NDC, but we would wait for the next 120 days, we'll wait for the next 1 year, we'll wait for the next 2 years, and in 4 years, we will determine what happens to the very issue they raised, the very issue they presented to the Ghanaian people, on the basis of which the Ghanaian gave them that mandate.
All right. Before I go to Roxanne Nelson, Dafia Makpo, the South Dayi legislator. Good morning, Roxanne.
Good morning to Kabiru, and good morning to our viewers, especially my people in Pekikpalikwe Vetombo, South Dayi.
I thought you would be congratulating him as well.
Yet, my brother.
He will be joining you.
You are welcome to the house.
In the 9th Parliament.
Yet, and of course, congratulations to all my colleagues who got re-elected.
Someone sent me a message saying, Teraba MP. He'll be.
No, they are freshly minted.
Yes.
In law, that's how we say
freshly
it.
Minted.
Freshly minted.
But a quick one before I come to Roxanne. I've heard some of the party communicators, I mean the NPP, and all of a sudden, they are so sober, they are so humble, they are so apologetic, and on different platforms, they are now accepting the very things that Ghanaians were telling you, and you branded us and spoke down on us, at us, on. How come? I mean, issues like Kenoforiata and the issues surrounding his, being finance minister, issues about taxes, issues about arrogance of power, issues about not respecting people, issues about not doing what the people want. All of a sudden, you are now accepting all these things. And we ask, why? You couldn't look in your crystal ball and see that this was coming. You couldn't accept then. But now that power has slipped from your grip, oh, yes, Remo, the same way you came begging the first time. What happened? What is it with politicians?
Money finish, eye clear.
Right. Money finish, eye clear.
on the line.
That's a good one. Money finish, eye clear.
That's a headliner.
No, I want you to say that again. Money finish, eye clear.
So the truth is that most of this is when you are in power, when you're in government, you feel that you are doing it all right because you are doing it to the best of your ability. Especially so when you have the best interest of your people at heart. And when you find an ordinary bystander criticizing that, not acknowledging the good, and just criticizing, like if a normal human being, you begin to feel that that person is not doing it out of good faith. And that tendency to think that the one criticizing you is not doing it out of good faith will make you want to respond in like manner. And that has been the problem with most of us in government. And if you look at some of us, when we were confronted with, look, you admit that there were challenges. Right. But you also want to drum home. You also want to stress. You also want to highlight the good things you have done. Most of these things, you never expected the Ghanaian people to punish you with that particular huge margin. Because you look at, for instance, if you mention about the arrogance of power, one would have expected that would be clouded by the good policies of the government, i.e. free senior high school. Because that was...
Kabiru, one thing I've always told politicians, and I've said in the past to the NDC, and I'm saying to you, you can come and tell me about free SHS, and tell me about the great things about the STEM schools. These are palpable, they are real. I have criticized free SHS from a qualitative standpoint. And even the quantitative standpoint, some dust has been thrown in the eyes of Ghanaians because you've not impacted 5.7 million students, not 5.1 million. It's 3.7 million thereabouts. But this is still major progress, which must be celebrated. But if you come here, you can tell me that without sounding like, oh, you don't know anything. Oh, the problem of the people is free SHS. Oh, this and... Do you get it? You can make your point without being as arrogant as Ghanaians came to realize that you were.
Yeah,
Can that not be done?
I agree with you that, look, I do not associate with anything with arrogant communication. And I feel like the people watching you, the people listening to you have senses of their own. They have a mind of their own. They can decipher wrong from good, from bad, or from good.
Wrong from good.
All right, they can determine that. So as much as you communicate and you want them to come along with you, you have to give them the benefit of reason. You have to give them the benefit of intelligence.
Don't take them for fools.
You don't take them for fools. I agree with that. And different people have different communication, and it's not every single member of the New Patriotic Party that communicates that way. It's not every single member of the NDC that communicates with arrogance. So in every institution, there are bound to be people whose communication style do not resonate well with the people.
So are you in the same breath agreeing that to some extent your communications failed you? I've heard Dennis Miracles Abwaje say that he accepts failing Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Do you accept? Because some people, look, there are some people who, certain communicators in your party, they would look at them and say, I don't even want to listen to this person. He sounds so arrogant. He sounds this and that. And I'm not necessarily referencing, I just used Dennis, that example there, because of what he said. But some members of the communications team and say, listen, even if this person is speaking the truth, I can't bear to listen. It's so much arrogance. That can change, right? And that was a problem.
That can change. That was a problem. And I agree totally with such people that look, even in COVID time, where we all were feeling it, I sit down and listen to some of our communicators and I cringe. Okay.
Even you.
Even as a member of the New Patriotic Party, because businesses were locked down. People could barely move out. People became beggars. Now, if you go to national television to speak to Ghanaians, to speak to those people watching you, at least the empathy,
exactly,
the compassion, not just politics, should make you realize that, look, this is the situation. It might not have been caused by the president, but as the leader of the country, you have the first responsibility, and his arsenals and his lieutenants have the responsibility of rallying people, of at least showing the compassion towards them. So I agree with you that some of our communicators fail us. I agree with you that some of our utterances fail us. I agree with you that some of our actions fail us. But all those put together contributed to this huge, loss. And for me, like I say all the time, we just need to know that given another opportunity, we should not repeat the things that made us to lose this miserable.
Thank you. This message comes through from Yabua Benjamin. He says, this gentleman, that is you, Dr. Kabiru Mahama, holds so much promise. I hope he walks, and I'm reading this. There are so many messages. There's a reason I'm reading this. He says, this gentleman holds so much promise. I hope he walks the talk, and by so doing, gives off his best shot to the service or in the service of his people. That's a message for you. And hopefully the things we are talking about this morning, you will not live to, and when I say live to, not suggesting that, but you will not go down that same road that led to a disaster. But then Yabua Benjamin also says, Honorable Dafia Mekbo is a tactical legalese politician. I don't know whether that's positive or negative because legalese has its own, but always knows the remedy in law and always forcefully argues his convictions religiously. And that we know you do. So coming to you, welcome aboard once more.
Thank you very much.
You have also, handsomely done your work in your constituency, South Dayi. Let's start from there, receiving the mandate one more time. What does this mean to you as a person and to your party?
An increase in burden. That's what it means. And Kabiru knows he's been presidential staffer, now MP elect for Saviligu Walewale. Now, when you are an MP, the expectations, we have the perceptions of Kenyan situation. What happens in Kenya is that MPs are given a lot of resources to undertake heavy constituency development, civil works and all. The reverse is in our case. The resources that we get from the common fund is so meager. Indeed, the guideline is to enable the MP undertake emergency situations to intervene, especially when assemblies, convening the assembly to approve of such projects is so difficult. The MP is mandated to apply those funds to undertake those projects. So the MP share of the common fund, it's not enough for you to undertake heavy projects, i.e. construction of classroom blocks, clinics, health centers, construction of roads, and all that. But because we are the people or we are public officers who go to the people for their mandate, as it were, to canvass for votes, the needs in the interest of the people are dumped on you, the MP, to take care of. So when in a kind of democracy we practice, the winner take all syndrome. So when you are in opposition, it's very difficult to get things done from the center. You want to lobby for even rehabilitation of your road, it takes forever. And it is worse when you want the road to be tarred, when you are an MP from an opposition party. Because tarring of the roads must go through the budget. Right. And in preparing the budget, you see that government will prioritize areas where they think they have sitting MPs. That's the reality. So in addition to the problems...
Hopefully that will not be the reality in the 9th Parliament. We must get past that bit about... well, thankfully,
yes,
you have
yes.
so many MPs.
Yes,
Maybe that may be a good thing.
yes.
So you will have to develop many more.
Yes, I agree.
We have to get past that.
So in addition to having existing problems to deal with, as in tiring of my feeder routes, which in totality about 120 roads, kilometers in all, extending water to the Tongokbali area, which is ongoing, but hopefully will be completed within the next year. Building modern markets for Germany, Queven, and the B market in Piki. The people want jobs as well. So as an MP who will now belong to a government in power, my burdens have been made heavier. And every day the expectations of the people will be that you need to make these expectations come to reality. So it is not, the English say, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. So it's not an easy burden at all to bear. But be it as it may, I'm particularly glad about the renewal of mandates. The people have made me to know that I offer them quality leadership. They've never regretted voting me to represent them in Parliament. I'm among the top 10 MPs anywhere in this country that articulate the interests of my people and the national interest. So they have consistently been supporting me. Yeah, if you see, the first time I emerged onto the national scene, my percentage was 70.2. In 2020, I had 71.3. This year, I did 80.3.
80.3.
80.3.
That's a gargantuan leap.
Yes. So
something must be going well.
Yes. You may be an opposition MP, but go to the people. You remember the difficulties we had last year, apart from the Volta Lake being busting at its seams, which led to the floodgates being open. We are upstream. We suffered heavier. It was our side that got flooded before VRA had to spill. Apart from that, there were a lot of rainstorms. The rainfall was heavier last year. Led to a lot of rainstorms that ripped off roofs in many communities. And so if you are an MP, when things like this happen, you need to be with the people to empathize with them, to make interventions. So people don't forget those who help them in times of crisis.
Right. Let's also take a look at, the other side. Some would also say that your increase in votes, because like Kabiru and I were discussing in here, people also want to, when they want change, they don't just want a change in the president, the executive. They want a change in parliament. And they want that change in the sense that they want the president to have a parliament that can push through his or her mandate.
That's a homogeneous partner.
Exactly. And so sometimes that also results in some MPs getting more votes. But the burden, like you said, lies on your shoulders to do more for your constituency. But let's talk about the elections, the outcome that we had. Did you expect this sort of wide margin? Even members of your party have said that they didn't. And then we'll devolve into some of the other incidents. Okay. But I want you to be quick on that.
Now, have been totally shocked by the outcome. I know that we will be winning. And Kabiru and I, we've been feisty on TV ever often when we meet and speak about some of these matters. He's such a policy advocate and very feisty, but we still make the point that we'll beat them. I was hoping around 150 seats, a topmost of 155.
That would have been a net increase of about 15, 20.
Yes, I never expected.
Because you were going to lose some anyway.
Yes. No, we had already lost some in the primary, so I knew that they were gone. You know, but I never expected. Apparently also because Speaker, and I've been saying this, people who are surprised by it, Speaker actually initiated the project, Speaker of Parliament. He called me once after some feisty incident in some deadlock situation in Parliament. He said, look, my son, come. When he called me, he invited me around 5:30. It took me about 3 hours to meet him because there were a lot of people in a queue to see him. I insisted, I said, wait, what we are going to discuss is serious. So you be patient and wait for me. After 3 hours, when everybody had left, then he sent for me. When I went in, he said, look, you saw what happened in the chamber today. I said, yes, Mr. Speaker. We need to avoid it. If we are going to return to power, we need to do so by winning some seats we've never won before. You need to beat the people and win some seats so that when the news goes out, everybody will know that, no, this one, NPP has been completely knocked out. So we selected 15 seats and paid attention to it and ensure that the PCs work their knuckles to the bone. Yes.
I see.
People don't know.
Is this the first time you're mentioning this?
No, I mean, from...
You mentioned it before.
Yes, once I've been on media platform a lot. I'm sure he heard it. Speaker actually delivered 15 seats we've never won before. People don't know. They did it quietly. And people are saying I shouldn't speak about it. But if I don't speak about it, then it means that me, as the coordinator of this program, I haven't done service to his image. Funding in the smallest...
It's political strategy you are letting out, but at the same time, you're also giving credit where it's due.
Yes.
You're giving him his flowers.
Look, the smallest amount of money he gets, he will send it to these various constituencies.
For them to work.
For them to work. And Tema Central was one. He was so particular about it. I said, how can we look at the work we did in Tema and the PNDC and the NDC 1, NDC 2, how can we not win a seat in Tema? We struggle to win Tema seat. He can't appreciate it.
And some parts of Tema, in fact, a lot of them have voted NPP, predominantly.
Yes.
But in this last election, it's been a green wave. You swept Tema.
They switched. Because, look, you get to Tema is so dark in many areas. And they've been voting NPP since 1992. Or let's say 96. So why? There has to be clear interventions from their representatives. The advocacy ought to be top class.
Okay, so all this work was done.
Yeah.
You've won the number of seats, of course. Some are being contended.
Yeah.
There are those 4 constituencies, the brouhaha there.
Yes.
And today, a sad incident. I don't know whether both of you gentlemen, Kabiru, Doc, and Kwashiman, the cluster of schools, the fire. And, I mean, if you look at the scene, someone may say it was arson. Someone else may say, well, it could be coincidence. But if you look at the footage there, this dawn from around 1 a.m., a mechanic saying he had seen some 3 gentlemen with something in a polythene bag. He accosted them, but they said, oh, they were just passing through. Then shortly afterwards, some sort of explosion, a fire in there. And mind you, this is where the Ablekuma North voting collation
took place.
Yeah. And the ballots were there in the library. Yeah. Now the library has been burnt, and these ballots burnt to ashes. Now the science lab has been affected, the IT lab also affected. You remember that Irabna Obin had been declared winner there. So all of these incidents are in there. There's Dome Kwabenya.
Yes.
the Okaikwe one
Central.
Central is
and
there.
Tema Central.
There's Frank Anodom Press in Sawam Edwajiri.
They have reversed that one. So
yes. I mean, all of those were
Techiman South,
and they've come into the fray.
Obuasi East. You know.
How do you feel about these developments?
It's always been there. It's not a new thing, but what is surprising is the posture of the EC.
And I knew you would get there. Recolation?
Yes.
Recolation.
Yes. Because you see, anytime results of parliamentary elections were declared, with issues or not, once the declaration has been done by an EC official, accredited official, the EC's position is that if you are aggrieved by the outcome, go to court. Indeed, that's been the procedure.
And that's what CI 41 says.
And in addition to CI 41, that is what Article 99 says anyway. When there is doubt regarding the election of an MP or whether or not the seat is vacant, it's up to the High Court.
Hold right there for me. You said something. You said accredited official.
Yeah.
I'll hold you on that point.
Yes,
because in some instances, the EC has said the person who made the declaration was forced to do so under duress.
I'll tackle them on that point.
The person was not an accredited official, the returning officer.
I'll tackle them on that point.
No, I want you to do that now.
Yes, okay.
Do that one.
Now, an accredited EC official is an EC official who has been properly appointed and taking the oath of office to do the work of the EC in accordance with law. Now, let me give you the Tema Central scenario. The coalition and coalition centers are also accredited. Now, EC moved the coalition from Chemu Secondary School to the headquarters of the Tema Police Regional Command for purposes of enhanced security. Now, that coalition became a coalition of the Tema. You know, Tema has a Metropolitan Director of Elections who superintends the electoral activities in Tema East and Tema West. But they come under one Metropolitan Director. So the coalition of the Tema Central Resource was an activity for the Tema Metropolitan EC Directorate, which had 3 returning officers, Brobe for Tema Central, and I've forgotten the chap's name for Tema East. So they were all present to participate in the coalition, which was superintended by Mr. Ofosuhene. Now, Ofosuhene had concluded coalition by 3 p.m. He has declared that he won't announce the results. And he gave no reason. So for nearly 3-4 hours, we were sitting and looking at him. And tension was brewing. So his colleague, who is also part of the Metro Directorate, decided to declare the results.
Why was Mr. Ofosuhene not declaring?
You have to ask him that.
No, was there any technical, any legal reason?
Look, if I trace Mr. Ofosuhene's conduct between Monday morning and Monday evening, you'll be shocked.
Trace it out for me.
He stood up from between 11 a.m. to about 7 p.m., he stood up from his seat for more than 10 times, making phone calls.
To whom?
I don't know.
Is he the same one who had been interacting with Titus Glover?
That's right.
Is he the one?
Yes. Okay. And at a point, he went out with Titus Glover, the Great Accra Regional Minister, for some time, for like 10 minutes. He was also seen...
Were they alone?
Yeah, they were alone.
They left alone?
They left alone. Titus got up and he got up.
What were your agents doing?
I was there.
You were there yourself?
Yes, I was the lawyer, but I was also a coalition agent.
Right.
So I raised the matter. And I raised it with the NPP constituency chairman that, Mr. Charles Boateng, I want to point out that the Great Accra Regional Minister Titus Glover and Mr. Ofosuhene have gone out together. They've stepped out of the coalition decks together. And I'm bringing this to your attention. And after some time, they returned together, back to the coalition desk. You understand? So,
now, while I admit,
yeah.
I accept and I agree with you that it's problematic in an election.
Yes.
Dr. Kabiru, you would admit that. to be stepping aside like
Yes.
this, especially with a political figure
Yes.
and all that. But it's also not criminal, is it?
At all. But you must gauge some of these things from his conduct. Why would he refuse to declare the results, which favors the NDCPC? Why? And his colleagues were in disagreement. Announce the result. If anybody is aggrieved, let the people go to court. People were massing up. Eventually, we had to go into the offices of the police administration. He had to be talked to. You discover that from his petition to his superiors in the headquarters, he writes that he gave the permission to the Temais returning officer to declare it under duress. He now is alleging duress. And who created the environment of duress? Because we were surrounded by over 150 policemen, properly in their proper regalia and accoutrement, and then crowd control accoutrement. So who put who under duress? Me or the phalanx of police officers who surrounded us and ensure that...
Before I go back to Dr. Kabiru,
Yes.
I just want you to situate this for me.
Yeah, but let me again make the point. Pink sheets.
But briefly.
Yeah, pink sheets. There was one pink sheet that was missing. Ofosuhini couldn't find it. Eventually, he said he left it in his office. So he had to go pink sheet of parliamentary elections. He claimed that it was mixed up with the presidential. Meanwhile, pink sheets for parliamentary and presidential were supposed to be put together and put in a ballot box or in a secured contraption and sealed, or a secure receptacle and sealed with the appropriate seals.
So point made. What legal remedies can be sought in an instance like this, outside of the electoral result, whether directly against Mr. Ofosuhene or the EC? What legal remedies?
The candidate has very strong indication that she will want to lodge a criminal complaint against Ofosuhene. There are a lot of things that he
That is personally against him.
Against
as a person, as an individual.
No, his conduct amounts to a breach of CI 127. And Regulation 45 of CI 127 is the penal provision. So when certain conducts are engaged in, it amounts to a breach of the law. And upon summary conviction, 2 years imprisonment or a fine or to both. So she intends to make those criminal complaints. Because of the issues, she should not have been able to do that yet.
No, but I'm saying that is personally against Ofosuhene.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And of course, that matter, if it does proceed to court, then he will defend himself. The allegations leveled against him here.
But you saw how the language that he used against us in his petition.
Yes, but all of that will be due in court. It is court that will determine whether his language and everything...
Oh, no, I'm only saying that an EC officer, public officer, who is supposed to be neutral and use decorous language. Even if you want to communicate your situation in a petition, you use decorous language.
Your point is well made. All I'm trying to say is that we have heard all the things you've said, I've heard already, right? And I think you've spoken to the issues. The courts will determine whether those things indeed did happen, and then based on that, a decision will be taken from there, because he's not here. We can't substantiate some of what you're saying. But Dr. Mahama, and I'll come to both of you. This EC recollation thing, indeed, it's a novelty that we are now seeing. Well, I stand corrected if you can remember any incident in the past where we've had to do this. And the justification is that, well, CI 41, CI 41, and the law books as they stand say that this is what must be done. But in this instance, we feel on the back of some of these happenings, one of which we are just talking about, there should be recollation. Others have said that you should have just allowed the normal processes to take place, which is let the High Court handle these matters. What is your take?
Yeah, so first and foremost, if an institution does something which is regular, they don't have reasons to complain that their processing internal mechanism were irregular. The remedy, anyone challenging it, is a law court. That is the only forum you can seek any review of that decision. Now, the EC itself tells us that our internal processes were not followed. Okay, we had irregular processes. People were forced to declare results under duress. Clearly, they have not exhausted their internal processes and they have to do recollation. Recollation is not a novelty. I remember in 2020, even in Walewale constituency, but because it didn't come to national public, anytime there is collation and an agent raises an issue, once he raises it, okay, it provides basis.
Was this after a candidate had been declared?
No, that wasn't after a candidate had been declared.
Exactly, that is the difference.
No,
the difference is that once a candidate has been upheld,
yes,
declared,
yes,
a winner, if you have any issues, you go to
court. But that declaration, if it's not sanctioned by the EC or it's not based on the laws of the electoral, the rules governing the electoral process, it's not a declaration so-called.
But you see, there are instances where people have spoken about, oh, but my agent wasn't there, and this was done. That means nothing.
That means that's what relevant. It means nothing. It means nothing because the rule says so. The rule says that the presence or the signature of the agent is not relevant.
Exactly.
But the rule says that
a case has been made
the
for
rule
that.
Says
people
that.
have
the rules that we are referencing here
127,
especially Regulation 43, talks about parliamentary elections and how they are collated. Okay, if an officer does anything outside of this particular regulation and is not also supported by 47.
No, 39. Regulation 39.
Regulation 39.
39, 2 and 3.
Yeah, 39, 2 and 3, sorry. That is regulation 1 and 2. Yeah. Are those providing for in the case of parliamentary election and collation? Yeah. Okay, if the rules are not based on, if any process is not based on these particular rules, anyone can challenge it, and the EC, in his own interest, and in protecting the sanctity of the election, must also recollate. So the fact that the Electoral Commission has decided to recollate certain, for me, I have no issue whatever with it. My only problem is that, look, the Okankwe North issue you raised. Okankwe North. Ablekuma North. Sorry, Ablekuma North, where the Kwashiman class of school, the library got burnt. Look, this cannot be an accident. It happened in Tolung, it happened in Damongo, it is happening in Okankwe, it's happening in Ablekuma North. That cannot be an accident. People have lost elections. Those people feel that the only way to can get a remedy is to burn the only source evidence, the evidence with which anyone can prove the case. But fortunately, I even think that burning down the office will not even help because every political party should have the coalition sheets. Your agent should give you the coalition sheet. If you are contesting any of this, and you can bring your pink sheet for us to what? Determine whether or not there was any case. But you see, let's learn to the court. We all know that elections, once it's going to be determined by court, takes a lot of time. And if you force an electoral officer to declare for you, and you just say, oh, I have been declared. Yes, in the case of Baba Sadiq and then Patrick Boama. That is Okwagwe Central or North? Central. Patrick Boama is clearly, from his own coalition, is leading of over 1,000 votes. But someone goes to bring tax to the center and say, declare me. The person has been declared and say, okay, if you want, go to court. We shouldn't be running elections like that. Every single elections would end up in the law court for determination. And I don't think we should set that precedent that anyone can bring hoodlums, someone can bring tax to the polling center and force the Electoral Commission to declare results. And the only remedy you have is to go to court. We shouldn't, he knows that that's not the culture we want to encourage. We mentioned that this is not the first time. Yes, this is not the first time some centers have been banned. This is not the first time we're having disruption in electoral processes, even in Parliament. In the 8th Parliament or in the 7th Parliament, they had to run away with ballot boxes. This is not the first time, right? But I also understand that this is the first time the magnitude and scale of this disruption is happening. Despite the fact that the Vice President took an early step to avoid this unnecessary riot, to avoid this unnecessary chaos, conceded the victory to the, conceded to the NDC's candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This was to avoid the chaos. But despite it seems to me that when the Vice President did that, it rather emboldened the NDC. Some members of the NDC, to be fair. That early concession emboldened them to now go on some, if you like, seat grabbing. And that should not be encouraged. Yes, because clearly, most of the seats that we are contesting, the EC, after several recoalition has declared most of them for the NDC, for the NPP.
And some say that is because there has been some behind-the-scenes activity with the collaboration of the Electoral Commission
They
to
cannot
wrest these seats from the NDC. How do you react to that?
Once the declaration was made and the president made concession, national security briefing was now to the president-elect also. Okay, so you cannot be holding the state machinery and security, and there will be collaboration between the EC and then the NPP to declare some seats for you. As a matter of fact, the NDC should have been gracious enough to even let some of the seats go, but they are not. Because you have overwhelming majority in parliament, and some seats that are meant for some individuals, they still want to grab them from there. We know very well that most of the seats will be declared for the NPP, but we don't want to encourage this culture where people will lose seats, but because they have won the presidential elections, they are trying to grab the seats of innocent candidates. And we shouldn't encourage it at all. The vice president took the lead. He made a concession. We should have learned from that. And I also like the demeanor of the president. After, I think his speech is now more reconciliatory, and he's also asking the tax to stop. And the NDC the president-elect. NDC also formally issued a communication to the effect that people should withdraw from the coalition centers. If I remember so well, Mr. Fifikote issued that statement. But in all, I think that the coalition is not improper. The EC hasn't exhausted. They feel like the coalition, there was some problem with it. And the only remedy, because if I go to court and I've not done my own house cleaning first, the court may probably order that, go back and recollate. So why don't I put my house in order? If I even go to court, the results that I have declared will stand the test of time. So this is the reason why the EC is doing that. And I don't think that elections are won at the polling stations. There's no EC officer who could have come to tell the results of North-South Dayi, right? There's no EC officer who could have done that because the people voted for lawyer Roxanne Dafiama. Okay, so for me, this issue about Electoral Commission, as at 9 p.m., my opponent knew he had lost. There was nothing he could do about it. But you see, the problem comes in when the gap is so slim. People are winning by 100-vote margins. People are winning by 200 votes. Someone thinking that if I raise issue with this polling station, I will secure a victory. And I think that Ghanaians and politicians should begin to be honest with themselves that if you lose by even 1 vote, you have lost. Simplista.
People have lost with 3 votes.
Yeah, people have lost with 3 votes. But you don't hide under. You don't hide under technicalities. You don't hide under the fact that I now wield executive power. You now don't hide the fact that we have absolute majority. We can do everything we want and then snatch someone victory. I mean, that is not proper. And I think that most of the MPs that are facing this, they are from the New Patriots, on the side of the New Patriots, but are only suffering because we lost the presidential. We have also lost out in the parliamentary majority, and they are just bullying those particular members of parliament because they feel like if I stretch them, if we go to court, they will be with their representation, and I may get a rerun. Most of them are actually looking for a rerun. They are being bullied.
I see. Okay.
They are being
that's
bullied.
an interesting point to make.
Yeah.
I want us to. My colleague Kweku Asante has also, been in Parliament. He's been putting quite a bit together on some of these parliamentary developments, including from the sitting yesterday. But before we go there, you have a quick reaction, briefly.
Yes, not
very briefly, and then we'll go.
It said a lot. First of all, Fantiakwa North was declared for the NDC. 2 other constituencies I'm struggling to recall, including in Sawam Madwejiri. Your party organized, Kabiru, to commandeer those ballot papers or ballot boxes to be brought to Tesano and declared for you. Are you happy about that? He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So we're all making the point that there's a presumption of regularity of official work. If you disagree with what the EC officials do, you don't go and overturn their decisions like you have done. We are insisting that the decisions must stand. The only entity mandated in the Constitution to overturn such decisions or confirm them is the judiciary.
The High Court, to be specific.
Properly so-called, the High Court, that's mandated with the jurisdiction to do that in Article 99. So you cannot be happy about things that happen in Damongo, about things that happen in Fantiakwa North, which got overturned in Tesano here, and lambasts the NDC. It is rather the NDC that is saying, you have to wake up. Because all your declarations suddenly are being overturned by the NPP.
Okay.
You are sitting down consent.
Right.
And two.
I told you it had to be quick.
Yes.
Make it very quick
Two.
so that we can.
There is no recollation in the law. And let me quote. In 2020, we had issues with Techiman South. We, as a minority caucus, it's not even the candidate alone, minority caucus, we sent a petition to Jemensa dated 21st December 2020. And he says, under the hand of the then minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, I extend to you compliments of the minority caucus of Parliament. I write to inform you that the minority caucus will be working from Parliament to the office of the Electoral Commission in Accra on Tuesday, 22nd December, 10 a.m. to present to the Commission a petition on the purported declaration of the results of the parliamentary elections for Techiman South. Kindly accept the assurance of the caucus. Jemensa on 31st December, in responding to the petition, said amongst other things as follows in paragraph 13 of a response. Recollation can be done at all levels when requested before the declaration of results. However, once election results have been declared, a dissatisfied party cannot request for recollation or recount of the results. This was what the head of the commission said in 2020. So what are they doing today? They have turned their back on this pronouncement. In any case, this pronouncement is firmly anchored in law. If you read Regulation 39 of CI 127...
And this has to be the final point.
Yes, Regulation 2 and 3, it tells you what should be done, including even pasting the results at the polling station by the EC officer.
Okay, all right.
The only mandate the EC has to order for a rerun, for instance, of an election is where there's parity of results in Regulation 42. So EC has no power to do what it is doing. EC cannot be a law unto itself.
All right, point made.